There we go. Okay, well, welcome guys. Bottom line is that we're gonna rock some things out here that hopefully can help you make a difference for year 2021. You know, 2020 has been a little all over the place for many people. But the bottom line, we want to do something that's kind of fun and hopefully impactful, hopefully makes a difference. So as long as we have people kind of playing along, and this should be a good time. Sound like a deal? Excellent. So first, yeah, let me say this is a short call. You may or may not have your word for 2021 by the end of the call. But bottom line, I just want to start you down the path of kind of having this percolate over your mind for the next handful of days or a week to kind of get your word. I know this is something we'll be hearing from Coach Mark a little bit later on. And he's big on letting the word kind of find you rather than you chasing it down. So we're going to hear from him a little bit later. But likely your word probably will draw you in. Don't be in a rush, just kind of follow your instincts, you know, because our subconscious mind, bottom line, is the thing that is really driving a lot of our decision making, whether you know it or not. And and it's always solving problems for us. So basically at some point, it may just feel like your word comes to you, but that's just your subconscious mind working for you. So a big point I did want to make for anybody that's listening to this, whether you be listening to it for the first time now live, or you're watching the replay, is that you're going to get out of this what you want to put into it. So if you want to participate, play along, you're going to get more out of it. If you're not kind of playing along, that you may get something out of it, but it won't be as impactful. So I just want to make sure that you get the most out of it that you can. So we're putting our time in the right place. That makes sense to everybody as well? Fantastic, a lot of thumbs up. So yeah, well, I guess let's get going. So first off, you're gonna need some paper. You're gonna have to have something to write with. So grab yourself one of these, notebook, something, grab a pen. I know that if you don't have one in front of you, I know you got one somewhere kind of around. So don't try and fool me by just playing around, pretending like you have a pen. I'm sure you got one around there somewhere. So, but the bottom line is that we're actually going to just grab one of those pieces of paper right now. And what I want you to do is I want you to rip that piece of paper into 3 pieces. Okay, so we got our 3 pieces. I do anyway. And so on the first piece of paper, what I want you to do is I want you to actually write down the name or the word of something that you don't want crawling up your leg, probably an insect, something like that. Write that word down for me. I'm going to do the same thing. That's paper number 1. Now, paper number 2, I want you to think about some type of food that you really don't like, basically. Write down some type of food that you really just don't like. For me, I'm going to write down squash. I think squash is horrible. And then on the last one, I want you to, this one's a little bit different. On your 3rd piece of paper, what I actually want you to write down is I want you to write down whatever you would refer to as the most motherly person in your life, whether that be mom, grandma, Gigi, whatever the case. Write down what you refer to that person as. And now when I was talking about playing along here, making sure you had your pieces of paper, that you were doing this little exercise with us, like I said, you're going to get the most out of this if you're kind of playing along. So I'm actually going to stand up here. What I want people to do is stand up with their pieces of paper. I am going to take this first piece of paper. And for me, this piece of paper says spider on it. So what I want you to do is put that down there. And the same as it would be, you don't want it crawling up your leg. Stomp it out. Stomp. I'm going to stomp again, it's dead. Got it, stomped out. Second thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take a look at this. Yes, I hate squash. It's gross, has a horrible texture, don't like it. I'm going to put that down there too. I'm going to stomp on that as well. So dogs are trying to figure out what's going on in here. It's like, why is everyone jumping around? Now I want you to take this 3rd piece of paper. In this case, for me, this is what I wrote down, the most motherly figure, whatever you refer to that person. I want you to put it on the ground, and I want you to stomp on that too. And this is where I generally lose people, because at this point, bottom line is that you can actually have a seat back down now. But the reason that I did that is that it feels okay to stomp on number 1, and it feels okay to that spider or that centipede, whatever the case. It also feels okay to stomp on number 2 because that food's gross. But when you have something that means a lot to you, then and you think about stomping on it, well, that actually doesn't really make a lot of sense. And what I would really want to get across is that words have power. Words are ideas. There's so much more than just that sheet of paper, because if it was just that sheet of paper on the ground, we would have no problem stomping on it, obviously. But words have power. So that's the thing that I want to really get across here, is that we're going to figure out what word best represents what you want for this next year. And, you know, most of the time, it comes the first of the year, people are thinking about making New Year's resolutions. And what they're doing a lot of the time is they basically are like looking to make kind of sweeping changes potentially. Maybe they actually want a resolution for every different part of their life. They could be looking for something in the relationship arena. They could be looking for something in the spiritual arena. They could be looking for something in health and finances, etc. Basically, it gets overwhelming. So the bottom line is that if you're trying to figure out a situation for everything and a resolution for everything, then what's going to happen is you're probably going to end up burning out by about the third week. Hold on just a second.
What's the matter? What's wrong?
It's a nice chair he's got. Brown leather chair.
Oh yeah, I'm back. Just had to handle a quick dog issue, but anyway, so yeah, rough to jump down on that third one, because that's something that that you care about. So the bottom line, you end up being overwhelmed by resolutions, is what ends up happening to a lot of people. By the third week in January, you're totally shot. Most people have completely stopped doing what they want to do. So let's just handle this one word, because I think people can actually handle figuring out one word. So when you think about changes for the new year, a lot of times people are thinking in the kind of arena of something, saying to themselves, you know, I want to stop being late, or I want to lose some weight. Maybe I'm tired of being disorganized, so I want to fix that about my life. And the bottom line is they think that they find a resolution, the thing that they want to change. So what they actually do then is they start saying, you know, I'm going to manage my time better so that I'm not late. Or I'm going to stop overeating and exercise more so that I lose some weight. Or, you know, I'm going to go through my house and organize every room so that I feel more put together and I'm not so disorganized. But the thing is that this is almost always a boom and bust cycle of negative habits, followed by a short runs of change and then falling back into old behaviors. It's basically called this feedback loop that's regret-based decision-making. You know, and while regret-based decision-making can be a motivator at times, it doesn't lead to vision at all. And a lot of times, you know, people do end up not following through with what they're going to do with their New Year's resolution, but they continue to try to do the same thing over and over every year. And as we all have heard, Einstein said that doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result is the definition of insanity. So let's actually reframe this so that we can get some different results. So instead of saying, I'm going to manage my time better so I'm not late, which won't work, start saying instead, what kind of person would not be late? And actually, it's the characteristic of that person that you really want. It's not even necessarily the behavior. You want the characteristic that drives that behavior. You want to drive the behavior that gets your results. So in all of this, think characteristics rather than behaviors, because if you think behaviors, it's probably just not going to work. And that's what most people do. We also tend to define ourselves by what we do, or like I'm an engineer, or I'm a stay-at-home mom, or I'm a sales guy. For all those things, I could actually say, you know, I am a chiropractor. But for those same types of things, talking about characteristics rather than the what, instead of saying I'm a chiropractor, I could say I'm someone who helps other people make good wellness choices for how their body is designed to function. Doesn't that give you a lot better feel for who I am rather than just saying I am a chiropractor? So that's basically the urge to resist is pick your response and just really try to not pick that surface response. Dig a little bit and try and figure out what is the actual characteristic that can actually move you forward. So this next part, you're actually going to have to revisit that pen and paper, except this time I'm not going to make you rip anything up. So now this is something that I actually do want people to play along with. So if everyone just kind of wants to play along with me, I'm just going to ask you for 60 seconds that are uninterrupted. If anyone can pull that off, I know we got kids running around, we got all sorts of things that we need to be doing. But for the next 60 seconds, I literally just want you to slow everything down, take some deep breaths in and out, preferably out of your nose, while you think through these simple questions. So everybody play along, eyes shut, eyes shut. Okay, deep breaths. Reflect a little bit on this last year. What could you use more of in your life that you didn't have enough of in 2020? What could you use less of? What was too much and just was toxic? Like, get it out of here. That was too much. How did some of those things make you feel, positive and negative? How do you want 2021 to feel? A little bit of reflection there. Now, let's actually visualize a little bit for this next year. If you had it your way and could basically have anything that you wanted, your day looked exactly how you wanted it to look, what would that look like? Are you waking up early because you love getting up early and got stuff to do and feel accomplished when you do that? Are you staying up late? Are you sleeping in, just waking up when you're ready to wake up? Are you traveling? Are you staying home? What does that day feel like? Are you outside where it's sunny and warm? Is it nice and chill? Doing something relaxing? Are you doing something exhilarating where your heartbeat is racing? Skiing down a mountain? Are you out on a golf course? Think about actually, lastly, we got multiple different scents here. This last scent, or this last way of thinking about that day, what does that day smell like? Like if you're out golfing, it probably smells like fresh cut grass. Or if you're at Disneyland with your kids, then it probably smells like funnel cakes or cotton candy. So I suggest that you continue this process after the call. I just wanted to kind of take things down here for a minute and really dig into what that stuff feels like. Because if we want to make this impactful, we got to hit more than just the surface area. So you're going to get some clarity on some of those things if you really do dig into this afterwards. But the bottom line is, with those things in mind, start making a list of the characteristics of who you'd like to be in 2021. Now, these can be, this is what you need a paper for, obviously. You can open your eyes so you don't write all over the place. But this can be an adjective, this can be a verb. So I am someone who is patient, or I am someone who is peaceful or aware. You could also do it, like I said, in the verb format, like I am someone who prospers, or I am someone who thrives, or who learns. So kind of while you have your thinking caps on there for a minute, I'm going to give you just a minute. Start just writing down everything that comes to mind. You're going to end up with a list. Take a minute to think about that.
He's absent.
Okay, so that basically could have gotten hopefully your mojo flowing in the right direction. So basically, after this call, like I said, kind of continue this writing, make that list, because the bottom line though is at the end, after you've made your list, whether that be now as the end or whether you continue working on this, the goal is, what I want you to do is I want you to kind of sleep on it. Most of the time, like I mentioned, you're not going to get your word right off the bat. And like I mentioned before too, actually your subconscious mind does a lot of decision making for you. If you've ever had a dream or you woke up and you're like, that is a good idea, or that is the solution to the problem, and you feel like you need to write that down, that's basically your subconscious mind solving something while you're sleeping. So we have about 2 billion neurons that are working on our subconscious mind and only a few million that are working in our conscious. So you do want to make sure that you're powering your subconscious mind as best you can. The best I've heard it referred to actually is the ant and the elephant. The elephant is the thing that actually helps helps us make our decisions. That's your subconscious mind. It's the thing that basically is in control. You just want to have your ants, which is your conscious mind, the smaller of the two. You want that riding on the back of that elephant, kind of telling it where to go so that you're not a bull in a china shop type of scenario. So, but yeah, so the bottom line is take a look at that list tomorrow now and see what it is that jumps out at you and let your brain kind of churn on it all day. And what I want you to do too is say, now that we're in tomorrow, we've have our list, we looked at it, we slept on it. What's going to happen tomorrow? And again, this is a process, is you're actually going to become hyper aware that you're looking for clues, and your surroundings actually maybe give you some new ideas. And that's why a lot of times this idea of word for the year doesn't necessarily come to you right now, because this actually is what we're doing. We're planting some seeds right now. And what's going to happen is, again, you're going to become hyper aware of what you're trying to do tomorrow. You're going to have that subconscious brain cranking on this. And what you're going to do is you're actually going to do the same thing again tomorrow night, sleep on it again. And of that list, and now we'll be on December 31st, of that list, something's going to pop out at you. If you don't have it by that point, you're going to just have this basically this draw towards a certain situation or a certain word. And that is a lot of times what's actually going to be able to stick with you better than, again, if we're making all these surface decisions, we're not actually processing, chasing too many things at one time. So if you go through that process, take that list you have again, and you're going to sleep on that list, see it in the morning. And then again, you're going to be hyper aware tomorrow that you're looking for things of characteristics, like what type of person do I need to be to get to that goal? What is that? Again, it's not so much the behavior that you're looking for, it's the characteristic of who you have to be to get that end result. And that's really important, because people chase those behaviors all day long. That's what fad diets are. That's why they don't work. And that's why most people can't stick to creating a new habit, is they're not basically committed to becoming the person that it takes to get that end result. So now I've been talking here for a little while. Mark, you've been doing this for years now, and you also coach people on a regular basis. You actually are the one that told me a little bit about this. I'd heard of this idea before, but had never put anything together for anyone else for it, but thought it was a fantastic idea if we just work together on this. So, words without action, though, talk is cheap. So what can you share with us, if you don't mind, about your process and kind of what you've learned over the past handful of years?
So I think, well, thanks. I appreciate you putting this on. It's actually, I never would have thought to be like that creative as far as, putting this platform out for others. So I appreciate you, Dr. J, for doing this. It's incredible. And for me, I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head. It's like, we can't look at the behaviors. You really have to look at the meaning, the depth. For me, I just ask myself questions. So since I've been doing this is my third year, I'm going to do it. And I always ask myself just like questions, like what makes me feel alive? I want to go over like the people that challenge me the most. Something that I don't like. I go over things that I don't like about my life. And then like at the end of the day, what is it that I'm seeking? Like, why am I here? What am I going after? And those type of things, because I answer those questions different as time goes on, and the biggest thing is just, how do I feel? And you talked about that, and just how am I feeling? How does that make me feel? So this idea came to me. I think it was that this will be my third year doing this. And the idea came to me. I was just kind of sitting at a crossroads, right? I guess we have those aha moments in our lives. Not that necessarily this was one, but this was definitely a wake-up call. And when I say when I was at a crossroads, like figuratively and literally, I either had to go right or left. It was just that point in my life. My mom just passed away, and it was like, you just want to sit in your own stuff for a while. And it's like, at some point you have to get motivated to do something, right? Well, I didn't. I literally stood there, did not go right, did not go left. And what I learned is not making a choice is a choice. That in itself is a decision. And that to me, got me, because I was just sitting at turn right or left mark, and I was choosing not to do anything. But that was a decision, and it just sucked, and it sucked being miserable, right? And it just came to me like I got to do something. New Year's came up, and it's like, New Year's resolutions. It was just kind of funny. Like my wife was like, "What's your New Year's resolution?" And I'm like, I don't know. Like, what's a New Year's resolution? So the word "go" it just popped in my head, man. I'm like, let's just go. Let's just and so that's what I did for a year. I decided for 1 year I'm just gonna dedicate myself to this word, and I'm gonna do it, man. And I did. I just went. I anything that came my way, if you asked me, I was in. I quit my job and moved on to things that I wanted to do because an opportunity presented itself. When in the past, if I didn't have a focus, I would have just sat and just stayed miserable. You know what I mean? Like we moved 3 times in the year ago. I can't even tell you, like I met so many different people who I would typically not meet, typically not spend the time to talk to. I was the guy, I have a buddy who lives out in Arizona, always talk to him about, hey, I'm coming out to visit. He's just like, yeah, okay. I'm like, no, yeah, he'll ask me and I'll be like, yeah. And it's just, and it's obviously from his standpoint, I'm obviously not coming because that's who Mark used to be. Right. And so it was the year ago, first time I talked to him, he's like, hey, do you want to come out to Arizona? I pull out my calendar. I'm like, okay, we can do this Friday or the Friday after. And he doesn't know my word thing yet, right? And so he's like, oh, okay, yeah, just come this Friday. Long story short, I fly out there, show up. He's like, what the heck are you doing here? I'm like, I told you I was coming. He's like, but you always say you're coming. So I'm like, man, wow, is it that bad? Really? So it was a year ago, man. And you just learn so much. And I guess what's crazy is, for me, is holding myself accountable. And what I've learned throughout this process is you can make anybody your accountability partner. And the reason I know this is because I had a buddy who I was his accountability partner. I didn't even know it. So he's with Homeland Security. So this is kind of like the how part, right? He's with Homeland Security, and he had just joined a new team. And part of their process was they had to do 100 burpees a day for like a month, and he was kind of getting bigger. He's like, I'm struggling with it. So he texted me literally one day. He's like, I did 60 burpees. That was it. That was the text. I said, okay. Texted me the next day. Something about he did 70 burpees. I'm like, okay. Text me the third day. I'm like, what is this? He's like, you're my accountability partner. I made you my accountability partner. I'm like, that's amazing. Like, I didn't even know it. So he did. He sure enough, he texted me every day for a month straight and told me what he was doing. So I was an accountability partner. I didn't even ask for it. So as far as the how and to hold you accountable for your word, man, it's just amazing the creativity you can do. So I did, I've been thinking about this for some time, and I think it's when October hits is where I start thinking about what's going to be my word. And I'm not going to share it yet because I still, you just gave me a list, Dr. J. So I appreciate that, man. Even though I'm pretty sure I know my word. But yeah, so I'm excited. I don't have like a tradition. I've known people to like dive in, like, if you live by ocean, like dive in water. It's like like a cleansing thing. Like, here's my new word for the year. And I don't know. For me as a person, it's all about, right, how am I going to be better? How am I going to just become a better person all around? You're constantly working on self. And for me, when I just to circle back to that crossroads I was at, it's like there's nothing worse than not being motivated. There literally is not, like, for me, it was like the worst thing to be motivated about nothing. And, this was like the push, the silly little like word thing, right? It was the push that got me just to where I'm at today, back and motivated and, wanting to kick Dr. J's butt in pickleball, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's my goal. I want to beat you in pickleball, man. So, that's
Good goal. We'll see though.
yeah. So I'm excited. So this year, I think I'm just going to share my word with COVID stuff going on, share my word with my family, and I maybe talk a little bit about the year of 2020, because the thing is, like, 2021 January 1st is really just another day. Let's be real. I think a lot of people think this magic's gonna happen, and it's like, I think you said it, like, with no action, like, no, it's literally, 2020 can be just like 2021. So it's all about your action, and I am going to put the action into my word, and excited about all the stuff that I learned with it. So I appreciate you having us on.
That's awesome. I appreciate it. Other than thinking you're going to beat me in pickleball, I think you're spot on.
Okay.
But really, I mean, yeah, this is Coach Mark. Mark's been a coach and a teacher for many years. Very good at what he does. Definitely helps a lot of kids move forward, not only with football and technique, learning offenses, etc., but very good also as a mentor, making a difference in people's lives. So thanks for turning me on to this, Mark. Definitely appreciate having you on the call. And really, yeah, this wasn't meant to be anything that was going to take too long. I figured about 30 or 40 minutes. But really, I mean, it all boils down to, like you mentioned, it boils down to action. And basically, it boils down to a decision. I mean, the final question of all of this, when you're looking back through this and you're thinking about, and you're going through these next couple days, if you follow through with these simple tasks and you really do go through with, making your list, thinking through it, what type of person do I need to be to get to X results, and doing exactly what was on this call, then it really boils down to one final question. And that final question is, are you just interested in this, or are you committed to this? Is this something that you're serious about? Or because if you kind of take it half-assed, bottom line, what's going to end up happening is not going to work. It's going to be like the other New Year's resolutions that people say that they want to do, but they don't really commit to doing. As far as an accountability partner, like you mentioned, making someone else your accountability partner without them even knowing, that's brilliant. But bottom line on that too is that I'm going to actually leave the Facebook group open. And I think this is something that I could see growing, and I'm just going to always leave that open. So, we have some people on this line here that are hearing this. And like I said, this can be shared all around the world with other people on the team that we're working with already. So I know it's going to get a lot of views, but next year I can see this being 10 times as big, making 10 times the impact. So as far as accountability type of scenario, I'll just leave the Facebook group open if we want to be accountable in there. That's a place where people can kind of publicly post if they want to. They can also totally choose to not do that. It's all your choice, but you will find that if you look up Find Your Word 2021, there is a Facebook group in there. It does have some people that are in there that are on this call for sure, as well as many others. And so I will actually keep up on that. And anybody that needs an accountability partner and want to share in there, I'm sure there will be other people that are looking for accountability partners, and who knows who you'll pair up with. And I hope it ends up working out really well. But closing on that, if anybody wants to unmute themselves, they have any questions, anything for myself, anything for Coach Mark, go ahead and unmute yourself and make yourself heard. Whole bunch of crickets. Well, that's nothing wrong with that either. But thanks for tuning in,
thanks for the invite and putting this up on here. So I'll say something. Mark knows I'm not quiet. So
Yeah.
But I appreciate you guys putting this together to get people in the right mindset going into the new year. As a teacher, as a past coach, and somebody in sales and all types of stuff, it definitely is good to get these ideas and just to get people thinking in the right way. And don't wait until the 31st or the 1st to start now.
Great advice. Appreciate you popping in on that, Chris. Definitely appreciate you being on here too. But yeah, no reason to wait, people. I mean, it literally is December 29th. And like Mark had said too, really January 1st is just another day. So why put off till tomorrow what you can do today? So 2020 has been all over the place for a lot of people, all sorts of different ways. I know 2021, though, we approach it with the right way, the right mindset, that no matter what situation we end up in, we can stay positive about it. We can move through it. Nothing's going to stop us. So appreciate you all being on the call, and I will sign out. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Mark.